Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Matt Horn
Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
In your own time, gentlemen.
Must be something big if the General's here.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
They're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you fail, it will be a massacre.
We've got orders to cross here.
That is the German front line.
Hold back! If we're not clever about this, no one will get to your brother.
I will.
Matt, mate, it's Spike here. I thought we were going to watch 1917 together. Pick up your phone, mate. I'm dying for you to see this film. It's absolutely incredible. Everyone's put so much bloody work in it, you'd be wrong not to see it.
So, on the line we have Spike Leighton talking to us. From where are you talking to us from, Spike?
From London, England.
It's like LA, 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 LA. London! You think that's bad? Last year we had Somerset. Didn't go down well.
Why is that?
Well, Somerset.
There's nothing wrong with it, Somerset, I'll tell you that.
A good way to start off, I would say, is the Oscars.
Okay.
Because the Oscars have just happened. And here we go. The award for Best Film.
Straight in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an interesting one. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it, because I've been following the award season heavily, and I think there's been an incredible list of films this year. Some really remarkable films, but all completely different in so many different ways, and all told in various different ways. But I think 1917 got the recognition it deserved. However, I feel no bad feelings or anything bad against Parasite. The acting was amazing. Bong Joon-ho did an incredible job directing it. Just beautiful, layered storytelling. So much symbolism and had so much power in terms of the themes that it would tackle. I really loved it. I can't shun it, if I'm honest with you.
Well, obviously, let's quickly go on the Oscars. Best Achievement in Visual Effects. Best Achievement in Sound Mixing. Best Achievement in Cinematography. That was the 3 that they got for Oscars. Now, when it gets to the Golden Globes, this is interesting. Best Director.
Yes.
Best Original Score. Best Motion Picture. Mm-hmm. And then BAFTA. Oh, I wonder. Best Director. Yeah. Outstanding British Film of the Year. BAFTA Film Award for Best Film.
I mean, it's hard for us not to like it. I think we all felt so strongly connected to it, and that was one of the reasons why it was made. When I met Sam originally through the audition process, there was all this enigma behind what are we doing here, what are we auditioning for? And when I finally met him, it kind of came to the point where he was just discussing why he wanted to tell this story and why it was so important to him. And ultimately, he said that he wanted it to extend to reach over thousands of audience members and for them to all kind of associate and feel that Schofield, the main character, could have potentially been their grandfather or one of their relatives that were fought in the Great War. So that, for me, I also had relatives who fought extensively in World War One, and so in that area, I felt very privileged to be part of that project, to be one of the few young men who were selected to be in this film. I mean, I was only there for seconds, but really it was one of the best days of my life, Matt.
Obviously, people have compared it, and I think very unfairly compared it to Dunkirk. But, I mean, I've had a few people from Dunkirk who said that what you see in the film is as very much a warlike environment as it is when, obviously, you're acting in it. How true would you say that was?
I mean, the thing is about 1917 was that it kind of takes place over several different landscapes. And so I was in the beginning, within the first scene of the trenches with Andrew Scott, and so I remember the weirdest thing was that when we were on set, we had to do a boot camp day where they kind of took us through all the army briefings, what was common at the time, and things that might make our characters special. I had a special a helmet that had chainmail, which was used to cover the face of soldiers against shrapnel. And there's all of these crazy inventions that they had and all of this incredible history. And in the background, there was 250 extras marching. I felt like I was genuinely going off to war at one point. It's so eerie, I can't really describe it. So in terms of, like, I would say being there as an experience, the set really made it. It kind of made you go into the war, if that makes sense. As wars go, I think it was tragic, and there was so much barbarity in it, and the way in which it was fought and the stakes of it all was so. I mean, you look at battles like Somme and Ypres and the effect that it had on the soldiers, and shell shock and how Britain dealt with shell shock. I mean, it was advertised that they could completely cure it, and that you'd walk in and half an hour later you'd walk out completely cured of your shell shock. I mean, it's complete fabrication of the truth. So I think at the end of the day, this is why I felt so happy that it was World War One that was being shown, because I've seen very few films of World War One, but the films I have seen have been incredible. But these stories need to be told because they're just so horrific.
So obviously you're in a warlike environment and you're acting with a load of extras in the background. What was it like working with the cast in your bit in the film?
It was nothing but a pleasure, to be honest. I mean, George and Dean are both incredible lads, so talented, but also so lovely. I knew nothing about the film, even when I was going through my costume. It was all kept very secret to me, and then one of the costume, I think it was Jacqueline Duran, said, "Oh, you're in the scene with Andrew Scott." And I went, "Oh, well, that's one of my favourite actors." It was all a bit of like a kind of emotional surprise, and the extras were incredible. But working with the main cast members and working with Sam in particular, just being blessed enough to be able to see how people like Andrew and George work, just so talented. As it was my first proper production that I'd ever been on in terms of being on a set. I had never even done a proper play before, so this was my first production, and I felt it was very daunting, but at the same time, I learned so much from it.
Well, there is an interesting thing you've mentioned, obviously, with Andrew Scott, who actually is one of my favourite actors as well, is the fact that he's known for obviously being Moriarty in Sherlock. I think that's one of the biggest things he's done. Fleabag is another known British TV series. But then to go from those two to a war film like that is an interesting step for him, I think.
Definitely. I think, in my personal opinion, I think it was one of those films that when it was given to certain cast members, I'm sure they could never reject it. It was one of those scripts that you would read and you wouldn't put down. It was just so moving, but also there was, as you've seen the film now, like there's so many characters and there's so much journey that happens, and each one of those, even though they might be small cameos, plays such an integral part for not only Schofield and Blake, but for the whole narrative of the war. And in one way, they're very symbolic of certain types of people that you would encounter within the war. And I felt like those guys really saw it as an incredible opportunity just to be part of something incredible, whether the part was big or not.
There is a kind of equality to it as well. I'm just looking at the cast list, and there's a wonderful sort of fusion between like A-list stars and you know unknown
actors. I remember Sam even talking about this, saying that he kind of wanted to cast the two main lads as relatively unknown people. I mean, I knew them both very well in terms of their career and what they were doing. Not as people, but as what they were doing in their acting work. So for me, I was like, wow, they're not unknown. But in terms of the industry now, people are discovering them, and I'm so happy for both of the lads because they're both so incredibly talented. I just think the choice to mix A-list actors with somewhat unknown actors, it had that sense of, it wasn't about characters really, if that makes sense. I didn't feel the sense of like, okay, no, we're going to get him in to play the big character. I felt they all served their purpose individually.
I do have to go on about anecdotes. Are there any sort of anecdotes you can share about the production of your bit?
Let me think. Oh, yeah. Okay, I've got an anecdote for you. So, in my scene, I'm probably sure you've heard Sam talk about this, a lot of the takes were done within 7 to 8 minutes intervals. They would kind of be planned within a 7-minute scene, which would then have the invisible cut, which would then lead on to the next 7-minute scene. So, on the day when it came to shooting, I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and due to lighting continuity, we couldn't start shooting till 12 o'clock. Now, I had on, this is a quote from the costume team, the heaviest outfit out of all of the actors in the department. So I was riddled with all of this stuff on me, but basically didn't want to take it off. So I was effectively asleep for however many hours until they called me onto set, which at that point was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it took around 5 to 6 hours just for the sunlight to be correct for us to allow us to shoot. This is when it got really bad. So at that point, we had done 25 takes or something, and we went for lunch, arrived back after lunch to finish off the shoot. It got to about the 35th take, and I realised I really needed to go to the toilet. But obviously on a film like this, when you have lighting continuity and the ball needs to be kept rolling, I knew that I'd have to pick my time very wisely to go to the toilet. And it got to the point where it was closer to the 40th take that we had done, and they kept calling us back to do it. And obviously it wasn't a quick take, it would be sometimes 5 minutes of waiting, to the point where I was shivering, holding in, like needing to go to the toilet, needing to go have a wee basically, and realised it was either I stop the entire set and have everyone hate me just because I needed to go to the toilet, or I managed to hold it in for the duration of the shooting, or I have an accident on camera and never live it down. So my choice then was just to stomach, keep going on, keep going through it. And luckily we only did another 3 takes after the 40th take, which then meant I could quickly run to the toilet. But as I was, they were all calling my name and saying it was my last day on set. And unbeknownst to me, I was in the toilet. So everyone was looking for me, saying goodbye, where is Spike? But I was obviously hiding in the toilet after waiting for 43 takes.
Well, Spike, I can actually add to this.
Yeah.
This anecdote, you'll love this. You'll be thinking, damn. But an extra on the film said, this is trivia on IMDb, so anyone can look it up. An extra on the film said, I can't help but laugh at the final shot at the tree. About 100 extras used that tree to urinate on as the toilets were so far away. We had no idea that the ending would take place with the main actor sitting under it.
Oh my god, that is really bad. That's incredible though, what a story. I mean, that's just bonkers.
Deary me.
Apart from that, no, I mean the whole experience as itself was, I can say this, it was collaborative, it felt warm and comforting to be there. The people were only lovely, but there was this sense of urgency, I'll say that. When it came to shooting, everyone had to be there, ready just to go immediately, because if one person messed up, then that means we'd have to redo the entire 5-minute take again. It truly was just a spectacle to watch, if I'm honest with you.
Well, on that, actually, I'm glad you mentioned about watching it, because, I mean, it's not unknown for films to do this, but the film is actually done as one continuous shot. I think you actually mentioned it earlier. I mean, what were your thoughts on the actual finished product as one continuous shot?
I actually met with the casting director, Nina Gold, before I saw the movie, before the casting crew screening, and she had told me she had saw it, and we were just kind of talking about how it was so different than what we thought it would be like. Obviously, everyone has their own kind of vision of what it could look like in their mind. Not in a bad way, I thought it was incredible. I thought Roger Deakins did an amazing job. I thought I'd be a lot more aware of the camera, if I'm honest with you. The camera movement for me, I imagined it almost feeling a bit stunted and kind of like, oh, I wonder how they're going to shoot that there, using the one camera and kind of continuously going through. But what I enjoyed about it was actually that, and you really get a sense of this in the script, was that this is about a passing of time, and that this is effectively a journey of 2 men riddled with a horrible situation, and they have to get to somewhere by this point in time. literally, as it says in the trailer, time is the enemy. So that was what I thought was an incredible device to really convey the sense of time, was just using this one seemingly long take, if that makes sense.
And obviously, we need to mention about the fact that they actually made real trenches.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is if you lot felt bad for us, I mean, I felt bad for the cameramen, because these lot were slipping and falling, and it was as wet and muddy as you can imagine it to be, which was perfect because it felt nothing short of real, like of complete realism. But I will tell you this, I can hope to never go in a trench again. It is very daunting. It did kind of make me feel a bit, I don't know, I was thinking a lot about my grandparents at that point in time. I mean, I'm here now, but this is millions and millions of people's lives at one point who are all marching off to war. It's terrifying when you're there and it's being recreated. So you just can't imagine what it would actually be like when it's the real thing. But the trenches, the trenches were special, I have to say so myself.
Well, let's talk a bit about you, Spike, you yourself. What made you want to get into acting in the first place?
If I'm honest, I never really knew what I was going to do as a profession, and then I actually got cast in my school play when I must have been about 15, because their actor had dropped out 3 weeks before the production was supposed to be on, and they needed someone to fill the gap. And I think they had heard me singing one of the songs of the musical or something, so they said, "Oh, could you audition for it?" After my first performance of that, I fell in love with it. I came running home and I just told my mum, "Listen, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I've made up my mind. I don't care what you say." Because I got this high from it, effectively, from performing. But then I think I've always had a very strong love for film and for theatre, and I've always been a massive, massive fan. And that's really how I passed the majority of my time as a child, was watching films with my dad or going to film sets with my mum. I mean, I've always had a very strong connection to it. So once I had done that first performance in my school play, I guess you'd say, that's when I decided to become an actor.
What advice would you give to anyone wanting to pursue a career in the industry?
I'd say this: it's incredibly hard, as even I am struggling now. And I think one of the hardest things to bear about the industry, especially acting, is the rejection. And of course a lot of people say that, but I think everyone takes rejection differently, and I think that is where you will really see longevity in terms of your career. If you can handle the rejection and handle the criticism, then you'll only really be able to turn it into positive feedback and work from it. In terms of starting off, I think that there's no set route. I personally auditioned at drama school for the last 4 years. I've been trying to get into drama school. Last year, I got accepted by 2 different schools, and then declined them effectively because I not only booked 1917 and sex education, the course I was offered, it didn't feel right for me. And I think as individuals in life, you have to follow your gut feeling, especially when it comes to what you want to be doing with your life. And I'm someone who's very honest with himself, so I kind of knew, no, this isn't going to be right for me. This isn't going to be something that I feel strong about. So I declined the drama school invitation, and I basically started applying at other places. I did NYT. So I would say, if you can go out as a young performer and try to get as much work as possible, then that's the only real way to learn. And then I think it's about working with finding people who work well with you, but also know how to push you and develop you. Because I think a lot of the time, acting, my issue with it is that it's very easy to kind of be nice to other people and be like, yeah, that was great, when in all reality, if we saw that on television, we'd be like, that was rubbish. A lot of the time I tell my mates to be very stern with me and just tell me if I'm not doing well or if I need to improve on this, and just explore. As long as you love the work, you'll never want to stop working. And there's so much of it out there, and there's so many people who love not only film but also theatre and just love teaching drama as a subject. I've worked with countless people over the years who have actually helped me, whether it was I saw them for a week or I saw them once every 5 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes a conversation can enlighten you to the point which will help your career in ways that you can't imagine.
You mentioned it in that answer. You mentioned sex education.
Yeah.
The new Netflix projects that everyone's talking about. What was it like working on that? Because that's completely different from 1917.
That was a real jump. I mean, obviously in size of role, it was a proper speaking part, but also, like you said, in mood and tone, just so different. I think what was weird about Sex Ed was that when I auditioned for it, I hadn't have seen it. I hadn't seen the first season, but I'd heard a lot of hype about it, and I heard a lot of people telling me to watch it. So when it came to me auditioning, I really wanted it, and I remember I stayed up the whole night just making sure I had everything down, making sure I was free to move with it and try and experiment with it. And the people who casted Laurie Nunn, they're just so good to work with, and like when I was in the room, I felt nothing but comfortable with them, and I just felt so free just to kind of experiment with them and see where I could go. And then they casted me in it, and a couple of weeks later I went down to Wales to shoot it.
Wales?
Yeah.
Sex Education is filmed in Wales. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You can find out where they shoot it all on the Netflix YouTube. But yeah, it was really good fun, especially for me because I was part of Adam's storyline. So we got to do the military school. I got to work with these great military instructors who taught me all the drills. We had a full day to rehearse and practice all of that, and it was great, to meet the rest of the cast and crew. They're all really lovely. It was my first time working with an intimacy coordinator, which is definitely interesting. Also something I know is kind of new in the industry. They haven't always been around, but yeah, nothing but positive things to say about that.
Spike, you got to tell us now, what is an intimacy coordinator?
Oh God, I'd probably be the wrong person to ask. I'll explain it poorly, but I think it's effectively a stunt coordinator for love scenes. That's how I view it. I mean, it's someone who takes you through every step of the way, instead of kind of approaching it as a sex scene or a kind of intimate scene. You look at very interesting things in terms of like how humans interact with each other, how animals interact with each other, as far as to say how they have sex with each other. I mean, it's very, very detailed. What they do is basically make you feel completely comfortable to say, listen, I have an issue with this. I don't feel like I'm safe anymore. That you can step away, and they'll fix the issue for you. Because I know in the past, from almost horror stories that I've heard from friends or other actors, of actors who've been working on jobs without an intimacy coordinator, where they might go ahead and do a intimate scene and walk away at the end of the day feeling maybe, I don't know, feeling that they haven't really been treated well, or that they're a bit insecure now, feeling uncomfortable with how they've been touched or treated. And so they're really there just to make sure that the guidelines are kept and that everyone is safe and happy.
Would you say it's probably as a result of certain events that have happened within the last 5 years or so?
Yes, I think definitely. And I think it's also something that was just not considered, really. Also, I think as an actor, as a performer, you don't necessarily consider it yourself. And so I think it's very important, especially on a show like this where there is so much intimacy, to really have someone there to make sure that everyone is just okay. Because I think, as itself, intimacy is a tricky topic. I believe that's why even the show was created in the first place, to discuss that topic. And I think people can maybe give off the idea that they're actually okay with things when they're not. And so that they're there to make sure that those things don't happen.
Obviously, getting off intimacy coordinators completely now, which actors would you like to work with?
Oh, wow, what an incredible question. British actors or any actor?
Any actor.
There's a few names I'd probably say, like Paddy Considine is one of my favourite actors ever. I'd love to work with someone like Denzel Washington. I've loved him since I've been a kid. Viola Davis is another one. Christian Bale I love. I mean, I really would love to do a film actually properly with George Mackay, because in my opinion he's one of the most versatile actors that the UK has at the moment, young actors, and I think he's just so interesting to watch, and I'd love to be in a scene with him and just perform alongside of him. Yeah, there's countless people I could name to you, Matt, honestly. I wouldn't really be able to pick one or two. I'd also love to be able to have the opportunity to work with my other acting friends. But I think it's just one of those industries that you never know what will happen. And like it happened to me even, I went from having no work and no experience to being on a Sam Mendes film and standing next to Andrew Scott, one of my favourite actors in the world, who I would also love to work with. And then it just happened. So I think you never know with life. I would say it's best not to plan those things.
Just to sort of make your life a little bit worse.
Yeah, go on.
Are there any sort of roles that you would like to do?
Yeah. It's less about the idea of the role, but more certainly about the character and like the character art that intrigues me most. I love period pieces. I'm a big fan of period pieces. I'd love to be in something, let's say, I'd love to be in something like a Robert Eggers film, like The Lighthouse or The Witch, because those films really interest me, and I just think that you can really stretch yourself in terms of how you perform. I'd love to play so many roles. I don't really see myself as kind of being obsessed with one role. I think if I could say anything, I would love to play a role where I explore dance. That's one thing in life I've never really ever done properly, and I'm not that much of a physical person. So being able to explore maybe the world of a dancer or someone who's somewhat affiliated with dance, I would love that. I'd love that. Something that would challenge me and test me a bit. I think of roles like Dead Man's Shoes with Paddy Considine. Those type of roles are incredible as well, as especially the younger brother played by Toby Kebbell. A role like that, playing a role like that would just be a dream for me.
I'm going to give you a 1 minute plug.
Okay.
To plug 1917, like you have to. And anything else you've got coming up?
At the moment, no, I cannot say so. But I'd love just to say to everyone who is either thinking of going into acting or still striving to be a young aspiring actor right now, that everyone has bad days. I consistently have doubts about my own ability, about what I can do as a performer. These are normal things, and that it takes a long time and nothing is an overnight success, and it's all about progression, but also it's about the process. And that is what young people like myself should give themselves time to breathe and remember, that it's a process and it won't be a quick answer. 1917. God, to be the first time I've ever plugged anything in my life. All right, well, I'll tell you this. 1917, it will absolutely change your opinion of cinema. I would love everyone to go and see it in the cinema, because that is where it was made to be watched. And it's an incredible film with beautiful acting and beautiful direction. The story is what matters, and that is what Sam would want you to worry about, and that's what all the actors would want you to worry about. So just go in there with an open mind, an open heart, and be ready to be moved, because that is a absolutely incredible movie that has moved me so much. And I've seen it multiple times now, and every time it has the same effect on me. So please go and see it in the cinema, and please go and enjoy it and have fun.
One of the things I will say about cinema now is it's starting to become, especially with like the war films, it's starting to become very balanced.
You're so right, especially with, I hate to bring it up, do you know what I mean, but streaming services and all of that. We're in a bit of a kind of transition phase right now. I think the industry is in particular, and it's shifting slightly maybe from what its ideals were. I think that even applies to stuff like casting. I think casting is very different nowadays. I think the way that people approach projects is very different. I think you're right, but the problem I have with people not going to the cinema is that I truly believe you need to suspend your disbelief and just focus on what you're watching in front of you to truly escape from it. And the issue is that I have, because I know a lot of my mates do this when they watch stuff at home on Netflix, is that they go on their phone or they go to the toilet. They're not really listening. And I just don't think that film should be watched in that way. I love watching movies at home in bed, but I watch it with complete dedication, and I listen to every part of it, and I'm always trying to learn from it. So I think that's my biggest issue with the cinema kind of dilemma.
It's an IMAX, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, it is.
Watch it in IMAX.
Exactly. Watch it in IMAX and go see it on the biggest screen possible with the loudest speakers possible.
Yeah. Well, it's come to the end of the interview, Spike.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Obviously, we'll have to get you back.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, do mention me in any speech-related award ceremony, obviously. Wonderful. Thanks very much for your time, Spike.
Thank you so much for that, Matt. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Bye-bye now.
All right, chat to you later.